Welcome back to the South African Morning. Now, private funders will plough 500 million rand into small businesses. Retail Capital says the money will be spent on personal care clothing and food, including beverage sectors. Let's now discuss this with its CEO, Karl Westvig. Well, Mr. Westvig, thank you so much for your time. I mean, would you say that this is due to the fact that small businesses had been ignored? We've been hearing from reports time and time again that there seem to have been frustrations when it came to some of the COVID relief, funds that were promised by government, causing some of them to close down, lock down, timelines being extended there. Would you say they've been ignored for some time?
Absolutely. I think very little of the money, even the TERS money, which is meant to be for employed people, very little of that has flowed to the very small businesses. There have been relief schemes at the very bottom end in the townships, but very little has flowed into sort of your SME sector that we service under 10 million rand turnover.
Yeah, so this is the reason why you've taken a decision to plough, approximately 500 million then into SMMEs.
So we're a fund of SMEs already and have been for 10 years in South Africa. We're not part of the banking sector specifically, and as a result, we don't see any relief coming through National Treasury and through the banking system. So we're funding off our own resources, and we have to support the SME sector. I mean, we have a large exposure to them. So half of that was in relief that we gave SME business owners, and the other half is new funding for them to get restarted or to restock up so they can trade again as lockdown levels get lifted.
What I found particularly interesting is that as you continue to support small businesses, you hadn't actually collected up to 90%, I understand, against these small businesses during this time because obviously of the tough economic times that they're going through.
It's very much been a stepped approach. So in April, as soon as lockdown level 5 was announced, 9 out of 10 of our businesses weren't allowed to trade. It wasn't that they couldn't trade, they weren't allowed to trade because of lockdown rules and regulations. So we gave full relief for those businesses, no extra fees or interest. And as the lockdown levels have been lifted, so many of the sectors are allowed to be open up again. And we roughly now seeing 85% of the businesses are trading, and on average about 80% of pre-COVID turnover levels, which is still 20% down on where they were last year.
Yeah, and
which still means they need to tighten their belts.
And with that being said, which would you say are the best performing sectors right now, at least in terms of trading back?
So essential services obviously have traded throughout. So that's been your pharmacies and your FMCG, etc. The sectors that have done extremely well actually are performing better than pre-COVID are things like your house and home sector. People have been locked down, they've been spending money on looking after their house. The building and construction sector and hardware sector, and also personal electronics. So people are buying electronics. And the other thing we're seeing is gym equipment, home gyms, bicycles are doing well. There's some sectors that are actually flourishing under the current regime.
Yeah, and on the other hand, we still have some of the worst performing sectors, right?
So we're seeing, restaurants have been very hard hit. They were pretty much locked down in the early part of the process. Even right now, when they've allowed curfews being lifted, they've allowed alcohol sales again, they're still trading at 50% of floor space. So the 60-seater restaurants are only allowed to have 30 people. And as a result, they've got half the staff that they would normally employ. They've had to reduce their menus. They've had to cut back on suppliers and terms. So it's a very tough space. On average, they're trading probably at 70% of pre-COVID levels at a turnover level. Some restaurant sectors are doing well, like the quick service restaurants, but sit-down restaurants have been hammered.
Yeah.
Health and home, so health and beauty sector, also hard done by, probably at 60% of pre-COVID levels. And then travel and tourism, they're struggling to come back on stream. The local travel industry is picking up again, but foreign travel obviously doesn't exist until after 1 October.
Absolutely. Now, with the 500 million rand that's been allocated right now to assist with small businesses, how do then SMMEs get in touch with you? Do they apply? Is there a process, or are there strict criteria that you follow to assist these companies?
So we're quite different to the banking system. So the banks typically are asset-based lenders. So you need to provide security and sureties before they'll fund you. We're a cash flow-based lender. So as long as you're trading and can prove turnover, we can fund you. They can go to our website. They can do a full electronic process online. We also work with some of the top acquiring businesses, so payments business in South Africa like eNCA and Yoko and SureSwipe. And where they've got customers who are trading, we automatically qualify them for funding. So we have a very broad footprint already in the market. And as a result, we're seeing pretty good advance levels.
All right, then we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. That's the CEO of Retail Capital, Mr. Karl Westvig.